Hey everybody, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you haven't subscribed yet, the button is below. Go ahead and click on it because your mind is only about to get blown more and more and more with the wisdom that I be dropping in every single episode. Okay, anyway, I tried a little bit of a different introduction. I hope you liked it. Guys, today's video is going to be about why you shouldn't be pedestaling and idolizing gurus, coaches, therapists, Instagram influencers, or really anyone for that matter. But I'm just going to focus on people that work in the self-development space because that's where I see this common dynamic forming, and therefore I think it needs to be spoken about. So why shouldn't we be placing these people up on a pedestal, up above us, and idolizing them? And just to go straight into it, it's a very common dynamic that, I'm not going to say unfortunately some people get themselves involved in, because by getting themselves involved in that dynamic, it allows them to potentially see it, so then they can transcend it, which can be really helpful for people who find themselves in these types of dynamics, not only with their relationship with some type of guru, coach, Instagram influencer, whatever, but people within their relationships or friendships. So that with the guru or whatever, it can be a mirror showing them a part of themselves that they need to heal. So that same dynamic doesn't also merge into their other interpersonal relationships. So some people find themselves in this dynamic, and it can be very troublesome if it's not spotted out, if awareness hasn't been brought to it, if it hasn't been healed, if it hasn't been transcended, if it hasn't been changed. And before I go ahead and talk about like the negative aspects of the dynamic, I just want to say that this dynamic can be common with all of us to a degree. It's part of being human, where we're going to place people up above us on these pedestals and kind of idolize them. This sort of dynamic has existed all throughout history. People do it to celebrities now, they do it to politicians. People have done it to idols and objects and things like that, all throughout history. So it's very understandable how common it has been. Therefore, I think it's something that we should be aware of moving forward, and that we look out for within ourselves so that we don't get caught up in it. All right. So whenever someone has this type of a dynamic with a coach, guru, therapist, basically what it is it's an unclosed stress response loop, or past trauma, a wound that hasn't been brought back to baseline, hasn't been closed, right? So think of it like it's this stress response, this wound that's been opened up from the past that is seeking to be resolved via this individual, this guru, this coach, this therapist, whoever it is. And the way the dynamic works is typically this wound was originally opened via a parent or caregiver. So someone that was above them in the hierarchical position within their home environment. Someone like their mother or their father. And because our mother and our father, they came before us and they brought us into this world, there is a level of honor that we have to them, just simply for that reason. Even if your experience with your parents has been really hurtful, let's say they were narcissistic, toxic, abusive, right? It still doesn't take away the fact that they brought you into this world. And that there in itself deserves a level of honor there that, okay, I don't have to thank you for all of this other stuff, but I can thank you at least for bringing me into this world. That doesn't mean I have to have a super amazing relationship with you and we have to spend every Christmas together, but there's a level of honor there that we cannot break. We can try and reject that and push that away and reject them as our mother and our father on a soul level. But when that wound has been opened, when we feel that separation, that disconnection to our parents and our caregivers, well then what we can do is we can seek a representation of someone else to wear the boots of this parent or this caregiver that we experienced that separation wound from that trauma, that pain, that abandonment, so that they can come and close that stress response loop for us, so that they can help us digest and process that wound by them coming back from the abandonment that they experienced with us, from that wound, from that trauma that we experienced with them. So basically, when we're idolizing and putting these people up above us on a pedestal, what it could be is our inner child seeking our mother or our father to come back to us. We see these gurus, coaches, therapists, whatever, as a parental figure to come and heal the parental wound that we had with our original parents. So basically, we project a representation of our parents onto them. And the reason why that's an issue is because even though these coaches, therapists, whatever, can help us process this wound and bring it back to baseline and help us heal, it's not via the client pedestalizing them. That only perpetuates it, because the coach, therapist, guru can never be the parent, can never wear the shoes of the parent. They can represent them, but they can never truly be them. So what happens if the client hasn't been guided from them projecting the parent onto the guru to be able to spot it and see it and be like, hey, here's this pattern, we also got to heal this, and this is something I've had to do with clients before, and it's part of my responsibility that I'm not feeding into that. Feeding into my clients idolizing me and putting me up on a pedestal or something like that. If that ever happens, I got to spot that out and allow them to see their own power and see us as equals, because that's the reality, right? And if that hasn't been spotted and transmuted and healed with the person that you're entrusting your healing journey to, well then all that's going to happen is these followers, these worshippers, these people that are pedestalizing, these clients, they initially put you up on this pedestal, projecting their parental figure on you to be like, yes, daddy, yes, mommy, come back and give me the love that I needed back then at that time. Or eventually they're going to come to this realization like, hey, this person isn't actually as good as what I thought. They don't deserve to be up above on this pedestal so high. Because eventually they're going to see that you are a human and you are equal to them. And then therefore the position they had you on is going to come crashing down. And what happens after that? They leave the representation of the parental figure, the guru, coach, whoever it was, and they go find another one. And another one, and another one, and another one. And it keeps going in this endless cycle until they realize what sort of dynamic they were in with these sort of people. And they come to the realization that they are never going to ever be their mother or their father. It's just impossible. They can't. Only your mother and your father can be your mother and your father. And that doesn't mean that they can be the mother and father that you needed at that time. But it means that eventually at some point in your journey, you're going to have to accept your mother and your father for who they are, and the love, the capacity, the time, space, energy that they were able to give you as their mother and your father. It doesn't mean that you have to accept certain things that happen to you as acceptable, but it means that you can accept that it happened to you, and from that you can do something good with it. Even if it means that you don't really see them in your life and there's still a boundary there. It means that you can accept that even if they were completely abusive, that all they were able to give you was life, entrance into this world. So basically means that if you are in this dynamic and cycle where you're idolizing and pedestaling these gurus, that if you've been projecting your mother wound or father wound onto them, that eventually you're gonna have to come to the realization like, hey, mum and dad aren't coming back. I'm just gonna have to accept my mother and father for who they are, and heal this at its core and face reality rather than this fantasy that I've been constructing and projecting out onto others that's only been leading to me idolizing others, then getting disappointed in them. And the reason why this dynamic is also troublesome is because it doesn't just occur when it comes to like guru and worshipper, client, therapist. It can happen in our romantic relationships. We can get attracted to our romantic partners because we are projecting a representation of our mother or father onto them. And what happens then when we do that? Well, it means we start off idolizing them. Oh, you're the best. Love bombing them, all this sort of stuff. But then eventually we get disappointed. Why? Because they can't be our mother or our father. They can't. And then what do? We, break up with them or let go of them, cheat on them, whatever. And then we try and find someone else to fill up that same representation of our mother or our father. It means that we haven't outgrown our childlike dynamics, relationships with our parents. We're still looking for the same one, only with a different body, a different person. So this is why you shouldn't be pedestaling and idolizing gurus. There's a lot of other reasons why. Because it's the role of the facilitator, the coach, the guru, to support you in accessing your own personal power. And if you're idolizing them where it's like, yeah, give me the answers, what should I do at every single given moment in my life? It's like they should be asking you the questions so you can discover your own answer. Otherwise, it builds this codependent, overly reliant relationship with them where it's only just still creating this wall between your true, authentic self, your higher self, the self that holds that wisdom, that courage, that strength that we all have access to, that you certainly have access to, that it is the responsibility of the coach, guru, therapist, etc. for you to gain access to so you can wield it and use it and then share it with others. So I hope you found this video helpful. If you have, drop a comment if you can relate to it in some way or if there's any aspects of it that you found helpful. Just sharing that we are only 2 more weeks away from Shadow Mastery beginning. If you're interested in joining, book a call with me. I'll leave a link below just to make sure that you qualify and it's for you. And our next Triber Winter Festival, our next retreat is coming up in June from the 28th to the 30th in New South Wales, Australia. I'll also put a link for the retreat below where you can learn more about that. This is the only place where I'm doing in-person workshops as well as just having an awesome time, experiencing lots of laughter and healing. And as always, like this video, it takes a second, subscribe to this channel if you want to see more content like this. And as always, big thank you, very grateful for all of your support, and I look forward to seeing you again soon here. Much love, peace.